At least once a week, Jeanie Phelps makes the painful trek from her home in Kalamazoo, Michigan, to the gravesite of her older sister, Carol Ann Cole.
Just this sweet, loving, beautiful girl who just had such a great demeanor. I mean, she was my big sis, even though we were 3 years apart. She was my best friend. We were very close growing up, and we were never apart.
Until recently, these visits to her sister were impossible. You see, the last time anyone heard from Carol Ann was winter of 1980. Jeanie spent 35 years imagining a wonderful life for her sis.
I used to have dreams. You know, she was married, she was on a farm, and had a family of her own, several kids running around. Maybe she had no phone.
But happy thoughts.
Yeah, they were happy thoughts.
But that sort of life wasn't meant to be for Carol Ann. When Jeanie last saw her sister, Carol Ann was moving away with her mom, Sue Cole. They left Kalamazoo for Austin, Texas, some 1,200 miles away. Carol Ann was just 15 years old.
She seemed happy on the way to Texas. She said she wanted to be with me.
Sue Cole says she and her daughter had a great life in Texas at first, but then
She just started hanging around with the wrong people, sneaking out of the house. So I was afraid she was going to really get in trouble.
Carol Ann's life started to spiral. She ended up in a drug rehab facility in Austin, Texas.
The last time I saw her was we went up there to visit her in the home, and I thought that she was getting better.
Things suddenly changed. Carol Ann bolted from rehab in Texas and turned up 375 miles away in Shreveport, Louisiana.
She called me and she said, I'm in Louisiana. She said she was staying with some people. I told her, well, you're welcome to come home if you want, I still love you. And she would always say she loved me before she hung up.
Carol Ann didn't give many details about her new life in Louisiana, but what she wrote in letters just recently recovered alarmed her sister.
I ran away and I lived with a guy, and he made me go to bed with his friends. And we smoked pot, drank beer. Then 3 weeks later, he threw me out. 2 days later, he took me back. The next thing he did to me was that he hit me with his fist and broke one of my back teeth. Then he started throwing me around.
Shortly after that letter was written, all contact stopped. Carol Ann's mom had a terrible dream and a terrifying feeling.
I was sleeping and I heard her screaming for help. And when I woke up, I could still hear her, and she wasn't there. I mean, I'm looking all through the house. So I think it was God's way of telling me something was happening to her.
What happened to Carol Ann shortly after she arrived in Louisiana is a mystery. The last time her family heard from her, it's believed she was living with John Chesson's family. Daughter Frances remembers Carol Ann being there, then suddenly disappearing.
Carol Ann stayed with us for possibly a week. I remember her being there. I went to school and I came home and she was gone, and I never asked any questions.
Frances never asked questions because she says she was afraid of her dad. She claims John Chesson was one mean, violent guy with anger management problems who had a habit of beating the hell out of his kids.
He beat me, and he took a belt and he just slung the belt buckle through my head. He broke in my arms before, threw me on the floor, beat me, kicked me in my face, broken hands, nose.
She vividly remembers one particular January morning. Frances claims Chesson told her and her brother they were all going hunting. Frances had never been invited before. She says her father told them to walk down a particular path into the woods looking for game.
And I kept getting this gut feeling, this scared feeling, and I look back and I'm noticing that he never leaves the truck.
They walk right into a nightmare.
My brother walks into her stomach, into the Corcus's stomach, and I walk amongst the arm around her chest and breast area.
Frances and her brother were standing in the middle of a decomposed body, the remains of a female.
So we're screaming and trying to get out the situation, trying to turn each other around to go back towards the truck. And my dad is still standing right there in front of the truck.
Those remains would go unidentified for nearly 3.5 decades. Frances O'Quinn is the last known person to have seen Carol Ann Cole alive. That was 35 years ago, just around the time Frances and her brother stumbled onto a decomposing body in the Louisiana woods.
When I looked down, I'm like, we're standing in a body. We're on a body. So we're screaming and trying to get out the situation and trying to turn each other around and go back towards the truck. And my dad is still standing on the road, still standing right there in front of the truck where he left where he stayed as we walked into the woods.
Frances's family rushed home and called police. The body had been stabbed multiple times in her back and chest. The young woman is so badly decomposed, cops can't identify her. They painstakingly start trying to piece the victim back together. Forensics show she used to wear braces. Her sneakers found at the scene had writing on them. She had blonde hair. With not much to go on, police put together a composite of what she might have looked like, hoping someone will know who she is. Still, no one identifies her, and police give her the name of Bossier Doe. Years pass, then suddenly, a break. Infamous serial killer Henry Lee Lucas confesses to killing Bossier Doe and another woman in the early 80s. Interest in the case flares, and a second composite is made. But Lucas didn't do the crime. Bossier Doe's case fell off the front page. Decades would pass before it resurfaced. Then, Lieutenant Shannon Mack with the Bossier Parish Sheriff's Office begins looking into the now 35-year-old case.
If you put it in perspective, I was 8 when this happened, and it passed through, I couldn't even tell you how many hands. I would assume at least 20. And it's just to get a new set of eyes on it or to see something different.
A new artist completely remakes the composite of what Bossier Doe might have looked like, which inspired Shannon to do something completely different.
What if we just give her a Facebook page and she talks, just like, hey, you know, this is everything about me. Can you guys help out? I called that out of desperation, really.
Meanwhile, back in Kalamazoo, Michigan, a family friend creates a page on Craigslist searching for information about Carol Cole. It was a 1,000,000-to-1 shot. And then, in a 1,000,000-to-1 moment, this 911 operator in Louisiana, home with bronchitis, happened onto both sites the same day.
I remember hearing the sheriff's office was going to do a Facebook page for Bossier Doe. And so when it came across my scroll, I was interested and I looked at it.
Later on, while browsing Craigslist, she ran across the ad with a photo and info about a missing girl named Carol Ann Cole from Kalamazoo, Michigan.
It was a picture of a missing female that her family had not heard from her for many years.
Something about the picture in the ad stuck in her mind and wouldn't go away.
I thought, I've seen that jawline before. And I went back to the Bossier Doe page.
She was stunned. The two images gazing back from her computer screen were just so similar. Pushing ahead, Linda downloaded both photos to her phone to look at them side by side. One detail nailed it for Linda.
When I saw the nose, I knew. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I knew. I said, this is this missing child. This is that murdered child.
She called investigators who got DNA from Carol Ann's mom and dad and rushed it to the lab. The results? The DNA all matched. Bossier Doe finally had a name. Jeanie Cole finally found her sister.
I think we all celebrated. We screamed, high-fived, couldn't believe it. And then it was, all right, now we gotta solve a murder.
On to mission number 2.
On to mission number 2.
Mission number 2, track down Carol Ann Cole's killer. And then, out of nowhere, a bombshell revelation from Frances O'Quinn, the woman who found Carol Ann's body all those years ago. A twist no one could see coming.
I strongly believe that my dad killed Carol Ann before he had done anything to go to prison, this murder that he had committed.
Frances says Carol Ann briefly lived with their family. Then Carol Ann suddenly disappeared. Did Chesson kill her? and then take his kids out to play at her makeshift grave? John Chesson is currently locked up for life for stabbing another woman to death, but was never charged in connection with Carol Ann's death. For now, Shannon continues to dig.
34 years is a long time, Lieutenant. What do you think?
You know, a lot of people didn't think that she could ever be identified, and obviously we've disproved that. So, it's possible.
Back in Kalamazoo, a message from a woman who walked a lonely path for 35 years.
No, I never gave up hope, and I would suggest nobody else give up hope. Your loved one's out there waiting to be found.